Hey girl, hey! Neighborhood White Girl is back for Plath. Part 2. So, there's another important part of Daddy, the poem that I talked about in my last vlog post. And I want to talk about this other part. So, in my class that I read this poem in, so we read this poem in what my professor called a group of poems that he called Poetry After Auschwitz, which makes sense because 1962 is after Auschwitz, and Plath references the Holocaust. But like that's the problem. So that she references the Holocaust. So I read this paper from Strangeways, and yeah, I do think that's a made-up name. Anyway, he addresses the argument that Plath has no right to reference the Holocaust in the way she does because she's not a survivor herself. So I gathered that some critics originally liked Daddy, the poem, but then changed their minds because, as George Steiner said, does any writer, does any human being other than an actual survivor have the right to put on this death rig? Al says, going back to the paper, Al says that Plath's intentions are pure, as she's attempting to use the psychological and political aspects of the Holocaust in the poem to explore the dynamics of her attitude toward individualism. So the last part's obviously a quote. I didn't write that. And Al goes on to discuss that Plath wanted to warn against nuclear war. I mean, this was written in 1962. Everyone was worried about that. So, I mean, that makes sense. I just don't see that in the poem. Like, I don't get the nuclear war thing at all. I mean, maybe is Daddy nuclear war? I've had to kill you. I've had to stop you. I tried to join you. You killed me. All the fascists, or every woman loves a fascist. Every woman loves nuclear war. And sometimes it's ideas. Okay, I'm not buying it. Not buying it. So this other guy, James Young, argues that Plath shared the era of victimhood. Yeah, Plath was alive during that time, but that doesn't make her a victim. Just because you watched a mugging doesn't mean you were mugged. It means you watched it. And yeah, it might hurt you or scar you or something to have watched the mugging, but you weren't actually mugged. You don't get to claim the same pain as if you were actually mugged. Because you weren't. You just saw it happen. So I'm just kind of annoyed right now. I hadn't really thought of this argument, but now that I have, I'm just like so freaking pissed. Okay, it's like this one time I read this like mediocre book about surviving the Holocaust, and it was in a first-person point of view, so it read like a memoir, right? But it was just like, okay. And then I found out that it was based on true events, and it was written by a non-Jew. And that just made this book even shittier. It wasn't authentic at all. It was someone trying to steal like the pain and the experience, whether it was for money and fame or to truly spread knowledge and awareness. I don't know. And I'm not saying that the goy, the non-Jews, shouldn't talk about the Holocaust or shouldn't be able to write about it or shouldn't be able to speak on it, because everyone should. share the knowledge and share the experience to the next generation and everything. But you can't pretend like it happened to you. It didn't happen to you. It didn't even happen to your family. You weren't wearing the star. Your family wasn't wearing the star. You didn't have to flee an area. You didn't have to worry about it. And I know that there are some goy who are helpful in the process. I don't diminish that. I don't diminish, everyone coming together and the dangers that existed for a variety of people. But to take that story, I don't think that's right. I truly believe in sharing the truth of the Holocaust and preventing future genocides, catastrophes, wars, so on. But I also believe in having integrity and respect. I can't write a book about being a slave. I mean, I can, but I don't think it would be very tasteful. A few weekends ago, I was at this party thrown by my FWB, so friends with benefits, at his apartment. And my FWB doesn't want anything serious, whatever, just FWBs. We're not exclusive or anything, and that's fine with me, because this guy, he's kind of an idiot. So, it's fine. But anyway, at this party, I kind of accidentally started making out with this other boy in front of my FWB on a couch that I may have done promiscuous things on with my FWB earlier, not in the same day. No, not in the same day, but earlier. And here I was making out on that same couch with a different boy in front of my FWB. And was it legal or allowed and not cheating and whatever? Was it faithful? Whatever. Yeah. Yes, it was. It was I didn't do anything wrong. But was it tasteful? Fuck no. That was not tasteful. It was not classy. It was not no, it wasn't tasteful. And that's how it is with Plath using Holocaust rhetoric. I mean, Plath probs had better motivation than being drunk on life, but still, it's not tasteful to do that. Just because you can doesn't mean you should. Doesn't mean that it's respectful or okay. And I just think if I wrote a book as a slave memoir or using slave the rhetoric of the pain of slavery or something, and people were like, what the fuck? She's white. She can't write about that from that perspective. Not that white people can't write about slavery and the slave trade and the horridness of it all and the truth of it all, but in very specific ways, in those specific ways, not adopting that rhetoric to my personal experiences. I think people would kind of flip shit if I did that, and I think that that's same apply. As a Jew who is only third generation American because of the Holocaust, if even that, it could be second. We don't really talk about it. It's too hard for them to talk about. So I know my mom was born here, but I don't really know for sure about the others. But I know my great-grandma wasn't, so I have no idea about my grandma. They don't talk about it, which I think says something. Anyway, so from this perspective, I think that Plath can find other ways to express herself other than making herself a Jew and her antagonist a Nazi. I get that it's time specific and, things. I know that the view on the Holocaust and everything wasn't like it is today. People didn't know as much as they did today in 1960. But I just think that there are better ways to express yourself than turning to that. There are other options. So, like, a good way to explain this is how some people fake mental illness in their writings. It just sounds cliche and cheesy, disrespectful, hurtful, and dumb to people who actually suffer from mental illness. So Plath did suffer from mental illness, and her writing from that perspective is very real and emotional and authentic, and it's touching to many who identify with her struggle. Plath didn't suffer or relate directly to anyone who has suffered in the Holocaust, so her pain in that analogy of her dad being a Nazi and like her mom being a Jew and her being part Jewish, her use of the pain is just a little bit off. So the point is that Plath is like a little iffy on the subject. Were there better ways to do it? Was it tasteful? Was it necessary? Did she mean it from like a historical perspective or like an emotional perspective? I don't know. But Al can fuck himself because he's just justifying something that's out of his league. No wonder he used a fake name. I would too if I were writing bullshit. I don't know. Maybe I'm not understanding it. Just neighborhood white girl, but white girls' opinions matter too. So keep watching for more bitching, ranting, and geniusing with Neighborhood White Girl.